You're thinking about moving to Idaho and you're wondering what the weather is like here in the Boise, Idaho area. Well, my name's Curtis Chism and I moved from San Diego, California to the Boise, Idaho area several years ago. So as a native Californian, third generation Californian, moving here, obviously growing up in San Diego and having spent my entire life in California, very used to that kind of weather. So moving to Idaho was obviously a bit of a change for me, and there's definitely some surprises that have come along with it. So in this video, I'm gonna break down for you what the weather is like throughout the various seasons. How bad do the winters get? How hot do the summers really get? And I've been getting a lot of questions lately about the weather because when I'm recording this right now at the end of 2024 in December, it actually doesn't feel that cold to me, surprisingly, even though it's only 38 degrees at the moment. As you can see, it's blue skies behind me, but I get a lot of questions specifically about what is called the inversion, and people want to know what that is, what causes it, how long does it last, and how bad is it? So we're gonna get to that and explain what that's like because that is a big #1 question that you all wanna know about that. So stay tuned so we can cover that near the end of the video and find out how bad it really is and what do you do about it if you're trapped in an inversion. It sounds terrible and scary, so we'll cover how scary or not it is. But let's talk about the various seasons that you're gonna have here in Idaho and what do you do with those seasons? So obviously you have winter, spring, summer, fall. Spring is absolutely beautiful here. That's when everything really starts to come to life. As you can see behind me, the grass is dormant here. So the grass here in Idaho does go dormant in the winter time, basically late fall into winter, it goes dormant. It doesn't die, it looks like it's dead, but it's actually quite alive. It's just waiting for that spring to come back around when everything warms back up and it comes right back to life. And then you gotta mow your lawns a lot here during the spring, summer, and early fall. You do have to water a fair amount because it does get rather hot here, which I'll talk about in a second. So you gotta keep a lot of water in that grass, but not too much or you'll overwater and cause other problems like flooding in your crawl spaces or even killing your lawn. But because of all that watering that takes place, just the right amount to keep it alive, but also keep it growing, you have to mow basically every single week, sometimes every 5 days, because that grass can really start getting out of control and growing quickly, especially if you're using proper fertilizers on it, which there's some great products around here, especially from Zamzows. They have a great program here. We fertilize 5 or 6 times throughout the season. They text you and email you when the fertilizer is ready to be picked up. You go and grab it and put it on your lawn, and it makes a beautiful green lawn. And moving here from California where you're under all these kinds of water restrictions, oftentimes you can't even have lawns or you're very restricted to the days and the amount of times you can water. Moving to Idaho and seeing all the green lawns that so many people have here and they're not wasting water because there's water that is so plentiful here. It's an awesome feature to have that nice green lawn that your kids can run and play on, or you can just enjoy in the front or back of your yard. Now, springtime weather, you're gonna have varying temperatures. You're gonna have cold evenings, cold nights in the freezing too. And hopefully not too often in the freezing because that can kill plants, but it can happen. But generally during the day, you're certainly gonna be in the 50s and 60s and sometimes 70s for sure in the springtime. So that's when people really start to get outdoors a lot more. If you're into mountain biking, that's when your mountain biking's really gonna start to gear up because it's cool. You can work up a good sweat and not get overheated. People absolutely love the springtime here. It's still a bit too early for river season, but it's certainly nice to go out and walk alongside it, maybe bike along it. We have e-bikes. We love taking our kids and e-biking along the green belt that runs from Boise through Eagle into Star. Absolutely gorgeous to be along that river and just be out in nature. Now, then you start heading into summer and outdoor activities really heat up along with the weather here in the Boise area. So let's touch on weather a bit before we get into outdoor activities that you're gonna have. Obviously in the summertime, it does get warm here. It certainly will be in the 80s, 90s, and sometimes low 100s. In fact, this last year, I think it hit 110 or 111 at one point for one day. That was very abnormal. Typically, you're gonna be more in the 90s, and like I said, sometimes low hundreds, and it can span over several days in that hundreds. There's actually been times that since I've lived here where there's been 4 to 6 weeks of basically over 100 degrees or near 100-degree days. That gets very warm. You gotta do things to beat that heat. First off, obviously, you're gonna be indoors in air conditioning, and that's one of the great things about Idaho is that utilities are so much less expensive here, so much more affordable that your electric bill probably won't be terribly expensive despite having to run your AC basically 24/7 to keep up with that. A lot of the newer homes in particular here are insulated very well. I saw a lot of new construction homes and these are extremely well insulated. Plus with energy efficient furnaces and ACs, the electric bill probably shouldn't be too bad. Now, for example, My home during the peak summer months, now I run a lot of appliances. Before I had all these appliances, my bill was on average about $150 per month. I have a hot tub now, I have an infrared sauna, I have a deep freezer. My bill is a bit higher now, more like $200 a month on average for my gas and electric bills. So during the summer months, expect to pay somewhere between $100 to $200 a month, depending on the size of your home. But things that you're gonna do to really beat the heat, as I mentioned, the river, I highly recommend getting to the river. If you're able to get in the river, the water helps cool down the air significantly by about 10, 15, maybe even 20 degrees because this nice cool snow melt coming from the mountains, very cold water helps cool it down right around there. So that's a great way to get out in nature, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the warmth, and not overheat because you're in the water or near the water. That's going to help cool you down tremendously. If you have kids, there's a fantastic water park that we love going here called Roaring Springs. We get season passes. We go as frequently as we can because I've got little kids and they absolutely love it. But I'm an adult and I absolutely love going to the water park with my kids and just enjoying the slides, the lazy river. You can also get up into the mountains, of course. There can be areas where it's cooler. There's beautiful, gorgeous lakes around here like Redfish Lake. It's going to be cooler there. You can jump in the water, you can swim, all kinds of things to help beat the heat while you're here in the summertime. Now, the thing you have to know about summers here is how long the days are. You're gonna have daylight from, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning up to about 10 o'clock at night with kind of that after sunset dusk really to 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So you have to be prepared for very long days and you probably will be spending more time outdoors because of that. Now, with the heat, you wanna think about the orientation of your home relative to the sun. This is a key factor in the consideration for winter as well. Now, everyone has different opinions on what is best. Personally, what I have found that I feel like is best for both winter and for summer is having a west-facing front of your house. Your driveway is facing west and your backyard is facing east. So in the morning time in the summer, you are getting that morning sun that's coming up overhead, sweeping around to the south and coming over to the west. The front of your home is going to heat up, but your backyard is going to be completely shaded by your home. So it's going to be much more enjoyable to get outside and be in the shade. I would recommend having a patio cover. If your home doesn't have it, it's going to help as well. You're going to have a significant amount of shade. It's going to feel significantly cooler in your backyard. Whereas if your home is reversed, and actually this is how my home is, my front yard faces east and my backyard faces west. So I get a lot of afternoon sun. Now it's great for growing gardens. We have a tremendous garden that grows very abundantly because we get so much daylight with that west facing backyard. But my house can get very warm because of all that heat that's hitting all day long on the back of the house, and the backyard gets very hot, so it's hard to spend a lot of time out there. Now, I have installed a whole patio cover with roller shades, and that has helped tremendously this past summer. I didn't have it for my first couple summers here, so that helped quite a bit. The other option is a south-facing driveway, which I'll talk about again in the wintertime and why these orientations are important. Then, of course, there's north-facing. I'm going to talk about that in the wintertime section. Then you get into fall, things start to cool down. There's still tons of outdoor activities to do, and we love camping. We have a camper trailer. We love taking out as often as we can, and the fall is starting to cool down. Leaves are starting to change, and there's still plenty of time to get out and enjoy the beautiful nature that we have here in Idaho. We're only 45 minutes away into beautiful mountains, and 2 to 3 hours away, there is just a huge treasure chest of outdoor activities throughout the entire southwestern Idaho here. So again, river time for sure, biking, fishing, hunting is going to be big time in the summertime. If that's what you're into, then there's going to be all kinds of opportunity for that. Now, winter, what you're here to watch this video for, and the inversion, what is that? An inversion is where a warm pocket of air sits on top a cold pocket of air, and it basically traps that in the valley here. This is the valley. It's called Treasure Valley. Think of something kind of like Los Angeles, not as extreme with the smog that you have in Los Angeles, of course, but as you know, in Los Angeles, there can be smog gets trapped in there because it's kind of in a bowl. The Treasure Valley is similar, but we have that added layer. We have that warm pocket that sits on top of that cold layer of air and gets trapped in here. And what happens is it gets basically socked in. It gets very foggy, very cloudy, and that can occur for a period of a couple days. It can go on for several weeks or even a month at worst. And yes, this does basically happen every single year to varying degrees. And it doesn't just happen once, typically it can happen multiple times. So there can be periods of time where it's rather gloomy here and it can be cold too. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be extremely cold, but it certainly can be cold. This last winter was really interesting. It was very foggy during most of that inversion for a couple weeks, and it was cold. And so all the trees and all the grass and all the brush all had a thick layer of ice on it, about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick. It looked like an absolute winter wonderland, except that most of the ground, of course, it didn't have snow. There wasn't really ice on the ground either. It was just on the trees and the brush. It was really, really fascinating. And so what can happen is it can lead to seasonal affect depression or SAD. So if you are someone that might be suffering from depression or prone to it, you got to be really concerned about that for sure, and either don't move here at all or simply plan to travel a lot more during the winter months. I personally just got back from a 12-day trip back to Southern California to visit family for Christmas. We're going to Hawaii in January. It's a great time to make those tropical vacation plans and save those for the winter time, not for the summertime. Now, of course, there's many other activities you can do during the winter. Even though it's cold, we absolutely love going to Indian Creek Plaza. There's an amazing ice rink there and probably millions of Christmas lights. Really, really enjoyable, super fun, great Christmas activity. But other malls around here have ice rinks as well, like the Village at the Meridian. There's also, of course, skiing, snowboarding, and snowmobiling all throughout southern Idaho here. And winter is a huge time for people that love the outdoors as well. So it does get cold, as I mentioned, it'll certainly be in the freezing during the winter time, oftentimes getting down into the 20s, sometimes into the teens, sometimes into the single digits at night. But generally speaking, I typically see temperatures in the 20s at night during the winter time and in the 30s during the day. Now, what's interesting is that it's much drier here than in Southern California, for instance. So even though, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's currently, I take that back, it's actually 32 degrees right now, but it's actually not that cold. I'm in a lightweight sweatshirt and flannel shirt, and it's really not that bad. It's because it's so dry. It's kind of like the opposite of it being dry in Phoenix. Arizona, for instance, is that it's a dry heat. Well, this is a dry cold. I was just in San Diego and it was 65 degrees at night. And with that ocean humidity, it felt very cold versus in the 30s here during the day, it feels rather warm. I'm in the sun, got that radiant heat. Really not bad at all. So that's an overview of what the seasons are like here in the Treasure Valley. If you're thinking about moving here to Idaho, my name is Curtis Chism. I am a real estate agent. I help people make the move here to Idaho, and I absolutely love helping people just like you and you and you and you, and I absolutely love it. All you gotta do is reach out via phone, text, or email. We'll set up a Zoom call and work out a timeline to help you make the move here to Idaho. And if you're looking to explore more about the Treasure Valley, all you gotta do is watch this video here. We dive in deeper, and I'll see you on the next video.